G'day, VW here, how are you doing? Today's video is about putting custom wheels onto your Beetle and just some of the things you should know before doing it. So today's video is about changing the wheels on a VW Beetle, and just people do it for various reasons. Mostly it's about the look of the vehicle, but it can be about raising and lowering ride height. It can be also about changing gear ratios. Bigger sized tire gives you a lower gear ratio. This is the wheel that came, the original VW wheel. It's a steel rim and it's 15 inches in diameter. So if you look on the tape, it's 15 bead to bead, and it is 16 to the outside of the rim, but it's really measured bead, tire bead, which is the inside edge of the tire that fits down onto the rim. You can also see that this is a standard rim, which is a 130 PCD with the 4 lug nuts. The earlier Beetles came with 5 PCD 205. So it comes with a standard hubcap, and the hubcap fits on those steel knobs on the side of the rim, which helps it clip on, and then you just push them on. So that's how standard Beetle will come. This is VW, and you can see it came with actually 14-inch rims, but with the standard hubcaps. So just showing you there that it's 14 really from the inside of the hub. So tire bead to tire bead. So you can see those are also the little knobs where the hubcap clips on. So what do the numbers mean on the tire? So the P is for passenger car. The 195 is the width across the tire, which you'll see I'm measuring now, 195 millimeters. The next number is 65, which is the aspect ratio or profile, and it's actually a percentage of the 195, and in our case it actually works out to 127 millimeters, which is basically from the bead to the tread. So 127. The next number is Radial Construction, R for Radial Construction. The 14 is the inch, 14-inch rim is what the tire will fit on. The 87 is a load rating, and H is the speed rating. And that's what those numbers mean on the tires. Just again, you'll find it on another place on the tire. So what does PCD mean? PCD stands for pitch circle diameter. What that means is if you drew a circle through the center of the lug nuts, that is the circle diameter that the pitch circle diameter refers to. So on a standard Beetle rim, later Beetle, it's a 4 by 130. So if you have a look, if you measure across, that's the diameter of the circle is 130. So from the center of the bolt to the center of the other bolt is 130 millimeters, and there are 4 holes or 4 lug nuts. So a Porsche wheel has a PCD of 130 by 5, so it's that same diameter, but you've got 5 lug nuts. Then on the rim you also have numbers. And what do these numbers mean? Sorry, just turn the camera around. 6 by 14. So the rim is 6 inches wide by 14 inches in diameter. So if you pick the rim up now and measure across, again this is where the bead of the tire will be. That is 6 inches. So again, looking across where the bead of the tire, edge of the inside edge is 14 inches. So what can you do to make your car look better? So the first option is really to use hubcaps, and the simplest way is the standard hubcap, and then you paint the rim color coded to the body of your vehicle. I went for a different option. I got a set of Moon Eyes smooth discs, and I just wanted a really smooth look. So you'll see there's, well, camera, there's a dent, is what I'm showing you, is a dent in the rim which fits the valve. You line it up and you just push it on like that. Easy as that. That's just a shot of the Beetle with the Moon Eyes rims on it. So I ran the Beetle like that for a while, and then I decided I wanted to upgrade to Porsche Fuchs. So there's the old rim. These are Porsche Fuchs. They are repos, not original Porsche Fuchs, but they are aluminium rims, which are much lighter and have a much nicer look. So these are the rims you'll find on a Porsche 911, and I just think they suit a Beetle really well. You can see the tire is also a bit smaller. It's a 155/60 by 15. The reason for that is it's a low profile tire, and I've done that to lower the front end to give the car a California look. So the 60 aspect ratio is a low profile tire. The rim is also bigger. It's a 15-inch rim. So even though I've gone with a larger rim, because I've got a low profile, it's the 155 millimeters width, and the 60% is a profile of 93. It's actually measured from the bead, not from the top of the rim like I've got the tape there, but it's 93 mils. You'll also see that there are 5 lug nuts, and this is the PCD, pitch circle diameter I was talking about, where it's still that circle is a diameter of 130, but there are 5 bolts. So here we've just got 3 tire sizes. They're all on 14-inch rims, so it's the exact same rim size, but you'll see the difference that it makes. So a couple of reasons for different tires sizes is, one, to raise or lower your vehicle, but just be aware that by changing the tire size, you're changing the circumference. So the smaller tire in the front to drop the nose of the Beetle, the tire in the middle is the standard tire, and the tire at the back is the one I'm fitting on my Baja bug to raise the rear of the Baja, and also it just looks cool. So we've put bits of tape on them just to mark a point, and what I'm going to show you is that with different sizes in the tire, obviously the rolling circumference of the tire changes as well. So here we are, we put the tire with the tape on the crack in the concrete, and we're just going to give it one single revolution, and we're going to just mark that with a piece of tape. And what we'll do now is we'll try the next tire. This is a 195 65 14. So again, we start on the same crack, do a single rotation, and we'll stop it there and mark that with a piece of tape. Now the final tire is a 245 by 80 by 14. So we'll just line that up with the crack in the concrete. Again, roll it with a single revolution, and we'll mark that with a piece of tape as well. But clearly you can already see that there are 3 different lines, which means 3 different lengths. For one rotation of the wheel, you're going to get 3 different distances. So now we're just going to measure from the crack to each one of those markings. So the edge of the tape goes into the crack in the concrete. We measure to the first one, and that's about 1.7 meters or 67 inches. The second one is about 189 or 1.89 meters or 74 inches. And the big tire is about 2.2 meters or 2.21 meters, and that's about 87 inches. So this table is just those 4 tires compared to stock. So you'll see the 165 80 15, which is a stock tire for a Beetle. That small one is the 155 65. The middle one is a 195 65, and then the big one for the Baja is the 145 80. So those tire circumferences is really just what we measured earlier. And if you have a look, I've just put ride heights there. So the stock, obviously there's no change. But if you put that smaller tire on, it actually means that you're going to drop the vehicle by 44 millimeters or 1.7 inches. So it's a significant drop, and you don't change the suspension or get any issues with suspension because it's purely done by the size of the tire and the rim. The middle tire does allow for a bit of a drop, only 18 mils or 0.7 inches. And then with my Baja, I'm going the other way, where I'm actually getting a 51 millimeter raise or a 2-inch raise by putting those vehicles on the back without actually touching the stock suspension settings. So what does this mean? Well, what it'll do, it affects your speedo, reading and odometer, as well as your gearing ratios. So the next column is just loss or gain. So you can just see it's percentage 16% smaller. The middle one was 70% smaller than stock, but the big tire is actually 9% bigger. So how does that affect the speedo? Well, the stock, obviously your speedo is accurate. Putting on smaller tires means that your speedo overreads. So you might think that you're doing 50 on the speedo, whereas in fact you are only moving 16% slower. So that means you'll probably be holding up traffic because you think that you're doing the speed limit, however you're actually traveling slower. The danger though is if you put on bigger tires because it underreads. So you think you might be doing the speed limit, however you're actually traveling faster than the speed limit. Then the last item to consider is gearing. So by changing the tire sizes, it affects the gearing of the vehicle. So rather than, if you add more power to a vehicle, you may want to do this. Or if you've got a vehicle that's underpowered and you'd like to keep up with traffic, you might want to put on smaller tires. So a smaller tire effectively drops the gearing. So it feels like you have more power and you have higher revs from the vehicle. However, if you do work on the motor or put a bigger motor in the vehicle, rather than spend money on the gearbox, a simple solution is, which covers looks as well, is to put on a bigger tire. However, if you have the same motor, you'll feel a loss in power. and your revs will be lower. But as I said, if you've got a bigger motor, this is a great way to keep up with modern traffic. This diagram I just pulled off the internet, but it gives you a very good idea of backspacing and offset. So effectively it's the center line of the wheel and where the hub actually sits. So the dotted lines are the center line of the wheel, and then the red line is where your hub of your vehicle, so either the brake drum or the brake disc, will actually end up. So if we look at the first one, this is positive offset. So effectively, if you buy a set of rims like this, which are like the Fuchs, what it's actually doing is it's pushing the tire and the wheel back underneath the car, which can be a problem because it's going to push it back against the suspension, or brake or bodywork or something like that. Backspacing is a distance from where the hub actually bolts to your disc or your drum brake, and the distance back to the inside of the hub. And the offset is that same distance from the drum brake or the disc to the center line of the rim. So a zero offset just means that when you put the rim on, the center of the rim is exactly in line with the face of your drum or disc. And then a negative offset is really the deep dish rims that you see. You often see these on beach buggies and that. And what it allows for is a very wide rim. But what it does is it pushes the rim out of the fender. So here in Australia, that's actually illegal to have your rim and tire stick out past your fender. But that's how you achieve it, by getting a negative offset with a very small backspace. And they really look good because they're deep dishes. You can put really nice fat tires on them, and as I say, it looks very cool, but it does push the tire out past the edge of the vehicle, or if you've lowered the vehicle, it'll actually rub inside of the fender, outside of the tire. So here we have a standard VW tire. And if I measure the offset, you'll see it's about 110 mils. Oh, sorry, camera comes up. It's about 110 mils from where your drum or brake will be to the inside of the wheel. Whereas this is the Porsche Fuchs, and as I said to you, it's got a larger backspace, and you'll see it's about 120 millimeters. So the first one was actually about 100, so there's probably about a 20 millimeter difference between the two, which means if I just fit those straight on, it's actually going to push my tire back towards the car, which means it'll rub against the inside of the car, could be on the suspension. So this is the solution for losing those 20 mils because of the backspacing behind the Porsche Fuchs. And at the same time, it's solving my problem of 4 studs to 5 studs. So if you look down there, you can see the original 4 studs, the Volkswagen 4 studs, which you bolt the spacer on with. And then you have the 5 studs for the Porsche wheels that actually then fit into that spacer. At the same time, you can see the thickness of the spacer is about 20 mils. I think it's 1 inch, and that's what gives me the extra space so that the tire doesn't rub against the suspension components. Here's the dub now with the Fuchs wheels on. You can see this lower profile tire on the front, which gives the nose a lower attitude. Gives you that raked look, and I think it came out really well. Very pleased with the outcome and the look of the wheels. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for watching and take care. Thanks again for watching, and be sure to like, share, subscribe, and leave me any comments.